Recently, Apple launched their latest iPads and Apple Watches, and on October 13th, in the morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time, they updated their ecosystem and launched some all new things, the iPhone 12s, all 5G. What does that mean for you? Why should you care? How are they different from the previous generation iPhones? I'm gonna tell you all you need to know, make it clear, let's talk about it. The last event was iPads and Apple Watches, and it really kind of cleared the way and built the way for a lot of the things we are gonna see today in terms of what Apple's superpower is, and that is its ecosystem. The group of products and software that ties everything you can buy in an Apple store together and allows it to work seamlessly for the most part, keeping you on their platform and buying from them. Back when they launched the new Apple Watches, they launched in a new blue color and had new blue bands, the loop bands. This one is the braided loop. They also have a silicone loop, and they're in color blues. And today, they launched 4 new iPhone 12s, all with 5G, with a new Pacific blue color. So like I said, with the ecosystem, everything that they're launching, that they have launched, it all kind of builds on each other. So what are the biggest things that many of you are going to probably maybe have concerns about or are going to be big changes for you? One of them is something analysts have been talking about for some time, and that is the fact that Apple was going to drop earbuds and the little charging bricks from their packaging. And they announced that today.
Customers already have over 700 million Lightning headphones.
As they talked about sustainability and being carbon zero and all those different things. So bottom line is you won't get earbuds and you won't get the charging brick. You're still going to get the charging cable in the box. And in this case, you're going to get a USB-C charging cable, but you won't get the brick. Next up, gaming. Gaming is huge this year in 2020 with Sony dropping their PlayStation 5, Microsoft dropping the new Xbox Series X. There's just so much going on with gaming. Microsoft has the new Ultimate Game Pass. There was a whole thing with Apple and Fortnite and the App Store. So gaming really is playing a huge part in mobile life these days. And so Apple's going all in.
Now with the insanely powerful iPhone 12 and Verizon 5G, we believe it's the perfect time to bring League to iOS.
They have partnered with Riot Games. You're going to get League of Legends, and this time with 5G, where you do get 5G, you'll be able to stream and play League of Legends in a way that you have not been able to do before on mobile. Again, this is contingent upon you actually having a 5G connection where you live, where you work, where you're going to play. But they're going in big on this, again, because this is just a huge part of the mobile experience going forward, something that they definitely have to be a part of, and something that they have set themselves up for with the A14 Bionic chip that's in the iPhone 12s. The next thing they announced is the Retina XDR display across all 4 devices. So this time, you're going to get that beautiful high-resolution display no matter which device you purchase. And with that comes something new. Haven't had a chance to test it, obviously, but Ceramic Shield they announced, and they're calling it tougher than any current smartphone glass. This technology is going to make their screens more durable than glass. According to Apple, it is 4 times more durable for drop performance than the previous generation iPhone 11s. So I'm sure we'll see plenty of drop test videos once the phone drops and people are able to get their hands on it. But the Ceramic Shield is going to be available across all 4 devices. So that was one of the big things we saw today, was kind of this parity across all 4 devices with some of the aspects of the device. In this age of COVID, that really just makes sense because people really want the most value for their purchase because there's so much going on with people's jobs and layoffs and furloughs and all that kind of thing. So value is a big deal in 2020. one of my favorite things they announced today, because it's also one of my favorite features on my MacBook Pro, and that's the MagSafe adapter. So these new iPhone 12s are going to have the MagSafe 15-watt charging. If any of you have used a wireless charging phone, a wireless charging device, when you have to take the phone and put it on the wireless charger, sometimes you may miss having the magnets that are in here, the coils rather, line up with the coils on the charging device, and you'll notice the phone doesn't charge. I've done it a couple times where I've put it on the charger at night, got up in the morning, and the phone was almost drained because I didn't align the coils properly. Well, with the MagSafe charger, you are now gonna have a product that magnetically clips to, attracts to the magnets on the charging pad and makes it so that you should get a solid alignment almost every time you put the phone down on the charging pad. So that is actually, I think, a really big deal, because the other thing we're gonna see with that, obviously, is a ton of aftermarket accessories for the iPhone based on that magnetic spec. They showed off a couple of them during the event today with the MagSafe credit card adapter on the back, and they showed off some MagSafe chargers. One of my favorites was the Fold, which will enable you to charge an iPhone and your Apple Watch at the same time. Pretty cool. And they announced that Belkin even has something in the works, so we'll see what happens when that comes out. And with that out of the way, let's get into really what the meat of these iPhones are. We've gone over some of the highlights and features that I think are important, but really what Apple is betting on this year is computational photography and computational features. The iPhone 12 mini coming in at $699, the iPhone 12 at $799. The iPhone mini is a compelling entry into this category because it has a 5.4-inch display, and yet the display is actually bigger than the iPhone 8 because they got rid of the Touch ID on this, so you just have the face unlock. So you no longer have that larger bezel at the bottom of the screen, which actually gives you more screen real estate than you had on the iPhone 8. So that's pretty cool. And they've continued to push computational photography. So now on the phones, you're gonna get night side mode on that front-facing camera, as well as improved night side modes on the rear-facing camera with a wider open aperture main camera sensor on the back of the iPhone 12s. It comes in at 1.6 aperture. Now, you should know that a lot of phones are like 1.8, and well, actually very few are 1.8. Most of them are 2.0, 2.2. So with 1.6, you're actually going to get a phone that is going to be allow more light onto the sensor, and it's going to give you the ability to have, in theory, because I haven't tested it yet, but it is in theory going to give you the ability to have better low light shots without night mode. And then you throw in all the computational wizardry that goes into night mode, and you should have even better shots with night mode with this new aperture lens. Now, the cool thing is when I tested night mode with the iPhone 11, it was among the best of all the night modes I've tested even to date. And so to see that you have a wider open aperture lens paired with that night mode computational photography is very, very promising. They also announced their Pro and Pro Max models, and those models really require a deep dive, and it really is inside baseball. These are for content creators. These have a bunch of tricks and wizardry, which people who are YouTube content creators or TikTok content creators or create videos on Instagram, this is going to be something that people like that and people who do short films or feature-length films using iPhones are really going to appreciate. They've included HDR real-time video recording 10-bit, which means you're just going to get such a wide array of color, such a wide range of color when you record that it should absolutely be beautiful. If you've watched my review videos, you've seen when I've talked about The Witcher, which though Netflix does not enable HDR on mobile, Witcher still is a beautiful representation of what kind of that wide dynamic range looks like, even as the scenes are darkly colored. So with the iPhone 12, you're actually going to get a similar experience to what people in The Witcher had to do with post-production. The iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max specifically are going to give you that HDR10 recording where you'll really have some beautiful low light shots that keep their detail, that have a beautiful dynamic color range, and it supports Dolby Vision, which is the highest standard of HDR10 that you can have on a TV or on a display device. So that is going to be awesome. So you get a 6.1-inch iPhone Pro and a 6.7-inch iPhone Pro Max, Apple's largest display yet on an iPhone, and that's music to my ears because I absolutely love large displays. So that's the nuts and bolts of what they announced today for those 4 iPhones. I think they're really promising, especially I think many of you are gonna like that iPhone mini at $699, which is competing with at least 3 or 4 other handsets being released at this time, not the least of which is Google's Pixel 5a. And those 2 cameras, in terms of night mode and some of the other features, tend to go head to head quite often. So it'll be interesting to see once they're both released what the quality is like, the difference between the two, since they both heavily relied this year on features and computational photography to really help them stand out in the crowd while keeping prices from going up so that they're not alienating customers in an environment that is not really too friendly to people's bank accounts and wallets right now. So I'm Tashaka Armstrong. If you have any questions beyond what I've talked about here in the video, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll get to them. As always, thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.